Thank you for joining us for Small Talks for Big Change, where we help simplify financial topics to help with your financial wellness. We've got a very exciting episode in store today. When we host our webinars and we do our survey at the end, we always ask members what are topics they would like to learn more about. And I would say one of the top 3 things that we hear are auto refinance, auto car purchasing, anything that goes in that field. I think a lot of members get overwhelmed by the idea of auto shopping or refinancing. They don't know when it's a good idea to do so. They know it's an option for them. They just don't really know the ins and outs. So we have got a very special guest in the studio to discuss these things. We are joined today by Juan Godinez. So Juan has been with Patelco for about 10 years, but unlike myself and unlike a lot of other people who come through here who hop around from branch departments, Juan has actually been in lending his entire 10 years here. And also prior to Patelco, I saw on your LinkedIn, you were also working in auto sales before this. So you have years and years and years of experience in indirect lending and auto sales. Juan, welcome to the podcast studio today.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So tell us a little bit about, I guess, who you are. Talk about your time in lending, what got you in the industry, what you currently do with Patelco as the director of indirect lending, and just, shine a little light.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. I'm excited. So outside of Patelco, I'm obsessed with Chinese food. I dream of owning a BMW one day, and I share my home with 3 poodles, 1 toy, 1 mini doodle, and 1 standard poodle. So I pretty much have the full poodle collection. Over the years, I've watched the rate swings, cars prices spike, and technology change the way people buy and finance vehicles. So here's a stat that always blows my mind. Auto Finance reported that 1 in 4 car owners isn't aware that they can refinance their auto. And here's the wild part. Experian found that the average refinance happens at just 25 months into the auto loan. So people aren't waiting years. They're refinancing much earlier than you'd expect.
Interesting. Question for you. What about a BMW draws you to that vehicle?
Probably the logo, the emblem, but the maintenance repairs keeps me away from them. So,
okay, that makes sense.
I can afford a BMW, but the maintenance and the repairs is
understandable. So you were talking about like people refinancing earlier and how 1 in 4, members are eligible for a refinance. I kind of want to talk a little bit about just what refinancing is, because I think a lot of people understand the base of it, but they're not sure like under what circumstances it might make sense to refinance or anything like that. So can you share a little bit about how refinancing can save members money and when it might be a good idea? Because we talk a lot on our webinars and on our podcasts about like money saving tips and tricks and hacks and things like that. But I think a lot of people don't consider that refinancing loans they already have is a great way to keep some more money in their wallet.
Yeah, so refinancing an auto is the same thing as refinancing a mortgage, but a lot easier. So you can refinance a vehicle depending when you bought. So sometimes your credit score is lower, so you get a higher rate. If you believe your credit score has improved or you check and it has improved, that's a good time to refinance. And also life happens. I may have bought a car 5 years ago or 3 years ago. It's probably a better time to put. So 3 years ago, and then back then I could afford a $500 payment, but the situation may have changed or my income may have changed. Yeah. So it's always a good time to check. And then also one thing that we do and we love, and I'm very passionate about this, is we do refinances cash out, which means if your vehicle's worth $30,000 but you owe $20,000, you do have some gap to pull out $10, $5, $1,000. And then the best thing is you can use this to either consolidate other debt or use for other financial wellness that can help you save.
I think when I was working in the branch and I learned what a cash out refi was for a vehicle, because I didn't know that was even an option until I was like in this industry, I thought it was a great idea. And I don't think a lot of people consider that, you do a HELOC or you do a home equity loan, which is taking equity out of your mortgage, but you can do the same thing as long as your, vehicle is lendable. And I didn't realize you can also do a cash out refi even if you don't have an auto loan. Is that correct? Like if you have a vehicle that you are not currently, that's all paid off, but it's still within the lendable guidelines, you can still technically take a loan out against that, correct?
Yeah, so we finance vehicles up to 15 years and 150,000 miles.
Oh, nice.
And yes, if you paid off your vehicle last year and it meets the criteria, you can give us a call. We can check the Kelly Blue Book, the value of the vehicle, and then you can borrow up to, of course, there's other qualifying criteria, but yes. Your
That's
vehicle
awesome.
free and clear is probably one of the most important things.
Yeah, that's great.
And even if you have a lien holder, you still can cash out depending on the value.
Awesome. Yeah, that saves a lot of money when you're looking to, especially do debt consolidation, because auto loans being secured loans, generally the interest rates are going to be significantly less than doing a personal loan or, God forbid, putting your debt on a credit card or something that's crazy high interest. So yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that that's an option there. Can you talk a little bit about like some questions I have? Because I've never refinanced a vehicle. I've actually only ever had one auto loan in my life. If you have things like gap insurance or maybe like an extended warranty or something baked into the loan, how does that work if you refinance? Do you lose that? Do you have to just repick it in? Like how do you refinance when you have, I guess, add-ons on the vehicle?
So it all depends on the provider. Gap usually isn't transferable, but I
Okay.
do want to pitch Patelco has a gap policy that we offer to our members.
Nice.
Very, very affordable with a lot of extra benefits. So give us a call if you want to know more about gap products. Usually gap is not transferable. So
Can you explain in a nutshell just what gap is? Because I feel like we're using industry jargon. For those who don't know, quick summary of what gap covers.
Yeah, so gap is guaranteed asset protection.
Okay.
Let's say you bought your vehicle and paid $30,000. But as time has changed, vehicle values change over time. So if your vehicle is no longer worth what you owe, Gap will come in and cover the difference. There is a max percentage that it'll cover and all those things, but it does help reduce negative equity. I've seen consumers have a negative $5,000 Gap balance. So let's say you owe $20,000, your insurance only pays $15,000. If you don't have Gap, you'll be responsible to pay that $5,000.
The difference. Okay.
Gap can come and cover. With mechanical breakdown, that one is more transferable, what we've seen. But again, I would recommend you call your mechanical breakdown provider and ask them the details.
Nice. You said Patelco's gap insurance is how much?
$595.
And that's just a one-time fee, and you just have the gap insurance for the life of the loan?
That is correct.
That is a great
and
deal.
it has additional protection on there.
Awesome.
Yeah, so our Gap is very, very competitive.
Like if let's say I have a vehicle that does not have gap insurance and I've had the loan for 2 years, I come to Patelco, I say, okay, I want to refinance because rates are down or whatever. Can I buy gap at that time of refinance and have it for like the remaining portion of my loan period?
Yeah, you can.
Nice.
We recommend Gap when you finance greater than 80%.
Okay.
But yes, you can add Gap on your vehicle. And there's additional benefits than just covering that negative equity. Is what we call it.
That's awesome. So we're talking a little bit here about refinancing, but what are some other lending options? Like let's say I'm in the market for a vehicle, but I don't really know where to start as far as shopping. I know a lot of people fall into the trap of just going to the dealership and then, falling into the dealer financing. What other kind of auto loans does Patelco do, and how can we help our members when they are looking for a vehicle?
Yeah, so we actually do a lot of different transactions here at Patelco. We have a team of experts who help. We offer dealer purchase, so your traditional Toyota, Honda dealers. We also offer non-franchise. So if the dealer, for any reason, is not partnered with Patelco, you could come to Patelco to get financing there.
Okay.
We also offer private party with a lien holder or without a lien holder. So if you have a vehicle and you want to sell it to me, we offer those kind of transactions, whether you have a lien holder or not. We also offer lease buyouts. So if you're leasing your vehicle, your lease is coming to expire and you want to buy that vehicle out, Patelco also helps with that transaction.
Okay.
And then lastly, we also do offer third-party lease buyouts.
Okay.
So
wow.
you can buy your own lease buyout. So Juan is leasing a vehicle, buying his lease out, or Andrew's leasing his vehicle and selling to Juan.
Okay, very cool. What if when I was working in the branch, again, I'll draw back from my own experiences, and I didn't really know how to correlate this to real life because a lot of times I was not shopping for a vehicle, but there would be members who would come in who would just say I want to get pre-approved, and they would apply for just a general auto loan for $30,000, and we'd give them a letter that says you're approved for this amount. How does that help our members when they are shopping for vehicles?
Yeah, so actually I've worked taking inbound loan calls.
Okay.
So some of you may remember my voice or my name early when I joined my career at Patelco. So the pre-approval is extremely advantageous. You can request up to $40,000, $50,000. That's what I would always recommend our members to request more than they think they'll spend, just so that they have that extra room. If you request $50,000 or $40,000, doesn't mean you have to take the full
Sure.
$40,000, $50,000,
Sure.
but it'll help you put figures into payment estimates. And then just in case, you also want to think about when you're buying a vehicle, it's not just the sticker price. So the vehicle's $20,000, but then you have tax and license if you want to add gap warranty and all those other things. So you want to consider those things. But the pre-approval really, in my eyes, sets you up for success because that way you understand your rate, your estimates. And then the pre-approval and buying an auto is just so much more than just the sales price. You also want to look at the payment, interest, and the total cost of the auto loan. I think sometimes a lot of consumers, even myself, are driven like, oh, I can afford X amount of payment.
Yeah.
But then that might turn into X amount of dollars in interest cost and all these other things that you want to pay attention, and then insurance cost also.
Yeah. I think you also need to look at like the value of the vehicle versus things that you might be adding on because, you know, loan or lenders can genuinely only finance a certain percentage of the value of the vehicle. And sometimes it's a little over 100%. But if you're buying a vehicle that's, you know, at value or a little bit more than what the value of the vehicle's worth, and then you're adding on gap, you're adding on insurance, you're adding all that stuff, the amount that you're paying or the total amount that you leave with sometimes is more than what the value of the vehicle actually is, which in those situations is why you should get gap insurance.
I'm a believer of gap. I've refinanced my vehicle. So I'm a consumer as well. I've refinanced my vehicles and I bought gap even when I think I didn't need it because sometimes you're like, oh, my vehicle's worth 20 and I owe 20. But vehicle values change. I think when we started the conversation, I said, you know, one of the things that I've seen is seeing vehicle values change. So just being mindful of the future, and sometimes even $595, which is the Patelco cost, is not a lot.
Yeah.
Even like I've paid myself gap higher price to be able to make sure I cover myself in case of an unseen event, you know, total losses. All these things can happen where gap can come into play.
For sure. And gap is financed into the loan, which is awesome because the one auto loan that I had, I will brag on this for a second. It was right before the pandemic hit. So it was January of 2020. Rates, for those of you who were around back then, were quite low. We also, Patelco's partnered with Enterprise Car Sales, so there is discounts if you finance through them. Also, they were having, I think, their President's Day sale that weekend, so I was also able to get another rate discount. So Enterprise, I was able to buy the vehicle for about $2,000 under the value, plus my rate, I believe, was like 1.79%. Wow. It was wonderful, and I put like $3,000 down. So I thought there is no way I'm going to need gap. I am, you know, already at maybe only like 60 or 70% of the vehicle. But when I was looking at my lending options, it added, maybe like $4 a month to my loan. So I just thought, like, why not? Why not have it? Luckily, did not end up needing it, but I still don't regret the purchase because it did give me a lot of peace of mind. Because like you said, values change. You don't know what the future is going to hold when you are taking out a loan for such a high dollar amount, you know, item.
Yeah. Do you still have that car?
I do still have the car. It is barely hanging on. The bumper has, you know, duct tape on it. My windshield's cracked across the front, but I still have it. I had it stolen a couple years ago, and I was very, very panicked that I was going to have to get back in this like current rate environment, which is not what it was back then. But we found it, so that was nice. All right.
I was going to say, if you still have it and you bought before COVID, it's probably worth more now.
It probably is, yeah. I don't know if my specific one is worth now, but I think the make and model probably is. All right, so we've talked about like why it might be a good idea to refinance. Rates have changed, your credit scores change. I know one thing also is that if you finance for like a longer term and then sometimes have gone on and you have less that you owe, sometimes financing for even a shorter term will get you a lower interest rate as well. So there can be many, many ways why it's a good idea to refinance. Can you kind of demystify the process a little bit? Because I think people, when they think about the idea of refinancing, even if they think that it might save them money, they just get like, I don't want to have to gather all that paper and go through the whole process. Can you talk a little bit about what the process actually looks like?
Yeah, of course. So I just want to remind everybody, we offer terms up to 84 months. Our loans are open contract, no prepayment penalty. So you can always pay off the vehicle and there won't be a prepayment penalty even if you did for 84 months. Awesome. I'm one of the big advocates for 84 months because life happens. Like today I can afford an 84, or let's say I can afford $1,000.
Yeah.
But then tomorrow anything can happen. Not that I'm a negative type of mindset person, but I'm mindful and realistic that life happens. So if I finance my vehicle today for 84 months, but I can pay $100, $200, I'm going to pay it off sooner. Yeah. And then if anything changes, I'll just pay it off because you have your balance and that won't change. So I always recommend, really analyzing where you are and what is best fit for you at your current situation and in the future. The process is so easy. You probably have everything here with you if we would have done it.
Yeah.
Your vehicle registration that you have, your driver's license, driver's license mileage on the vehicle, it's a super smooth process. We have a bunch of experts are here to help you. We have a virtual branch where you can contact as well. I mean, then you can do the research online. There's so much information online. I think one of the big things when you're doing the research, is there any cost? So Patelco doesn't cost anything to check if you qualify for a refinance. So I would urge members to kind of just ask the questions that they have. There's no such thing as a dumb question. We're experts in the field. So if you don't know the answer, it's probably just ask, no matter how dumb of a question you think it is, because there isn't.
There are no such thing as dumb questions. We have things on our website, like Check My Rate and stuff like that can kind of help members get an idea of what they might save. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so applying is simple. You can check your rate or submit an application online at patelco.org, visit a branch, or apply over the phone. The online application usually takes a few minutes. It's a smooth process. I think I talked about it when we joined. I've seen how consumers finance and buy vehicles. The experience and the goal is to make it easy for our members and the consumer to apply.
Sure, yeah. When I was working in the branch, there would be instances where people would come in and we would have it taken care of same day all the time. It really is as easy as you just bring your driver's license, registration. Do we still need proof of insurance?
Verbal.
Some kind of thing like that. And then it's just as easy as, we submit the application, it goes to underwriting. Once you're good to go, the funders take care of it and you're good to go. It's very simple.
And usually I'll be fully transparent with you and the audience listening to us.
Yes.
It really falls on you as the consumer, because the application can be approved within a few hours, but then how fast do you collect the documents?
That part.
And all that. That's what it is more. But again, if you're prepared, you have your insurance, registration, driver's license, your basic information and the mileage on the vehicle, it should be very smooth.
Is there I don't think there is, but I remember when I would work in the branch, a lot of people would come in and they would say things like, oh, I want to refinance, but I got the vehicle with the dealership and they told me I can't refinance for the first 12 months, or they said I can't refinance for Is there any length of time after getting a loan where you have to wait before you can, proceed with any kind of refinancing options?
Traditionally, there isn't. Value of the vehicle matters a lot. For example, if you recently bought your vehicle, you more than likely may be upside down.
Okay.
So educating what the value of the vehicle, we can help you with that. Give us a call. There's a lot of resources online where you can also check what your vehicle's worth. So that would probably be one of the steps. And then if for any reason your dealer told you that, I would confirm with my lender to make sure that there is that kind of restrictions.
They might have their own penalties or things like that. All right, good to know. All right, so before we send you on your way, I just had my final question for you is, what is your golden nugget of today's episode? So this is just what you want your one takeaway for all of our members listening to be, piece of advice, word of wisdom, whatever it is. What is your wrap up for this, Mr. Juan Godinez?
Well, I did write this down, and I want to make sure I read it because I know I forgot some of the things that I initially planned to tell or say. So
for sure.
My biggest takeaway would be the biggest mistake people make with an auto loan is never revisiting them. Just like insurance or mortgage, reviewing your auto loan could save you a lot of money.
For sure.
At Patelco, we're all about helping members win financially, and reviewing your auto loan is the easiest win most people miss.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with that. I think we talk about it with budgeting as well. You have to revisit your budget periodically. You have to revisit your mortgage. Auto loans are really no different. Like you said, values change, rate environment changes, credit scores change. And that could be an option, especially if you have a vehicle that, a loan for $10,000+, you could be saving quite a bit monthly by just, looking at your options for saving on interest there. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Juan. I appreciate you joining me in the studio and sharing all of your wonderful wisdom. And thank you all for listening. That is going to do it for today on Small Talks for Big Change, where we help simplify financial topics to help with your financial wellness. We will see you next time. Patelco Credit Union is insured by NCUA. Hey, you guys. Hope you liked that video. Thank you for watching. For more financial wellness information, go ahead and click here to subscribe and here to watch the next video. Thank you.